Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast, where we talk about everything and anything franchising. And today we're actually at the Walkers Doughnuts Bendigo Marketplace store in regional Victoria, of all things. And we're joined by Jim and Rose Stoupas, the founders of Walkers. G'day, guys.
Hello. G'day, mate. How are you, Glennie?
Hello again. We've already done a bit today and we've got a lot more to do. We've got a bit of driving to do after this as well.
We do.
To another location. So this one we're going to talk about is the 5 key things that have made Walkers Doughnuts franchise what it is today.
Yep.
So I really like this thing because it sort of gives you an opportunity to ask you to come up with 5 things that you think that have really put you where you are right now, or the 5 key factors. And the first one you came up with was your origin story. And I've seen it on your website. So tell us about the origin story of Walkers and where it comes from, and that helps put you where you are now.
Absolutely. Well, I start with a little bit of history. My
history's always good. Let's go.
Yeah, my father was a baker, baker and pastry chef, actually, I must say. That was his actual trade. My grandfather was a baker. My great-grandfather was a baker. And the family origins were in Greece, but we had family that moved to New York, as you do in the 30s, to seek better opportunities, and they created bakeries there. Then we had family that moved to Australia in the 60s, and they created bakeries here. As a kid growing up, we were around a lot of cooking. My Greek background again. My sister and I had to go to Greek schools on Saturday morning.
To where?
Greek school.
To
learn Greek, which I'm very happy I did because, I can read, write, fluent in it all, but hated it at the time because the other kids were playing cricket on Saturday morning. But one way my mother used to get us up was she would make the Greek donuts, the local mothers, famous Greek honey walnut cinnamon donuts. And I remember it was early morning, 7:30 Saturday morning, just didn't want to get up, and I'd smell those and go, I'll get up.
It's time, yeah.
It's time. So that was a strongly evocative memory, and just, for me, just in terms of, a fried dough product. And I remember family outings in those days. We'd go out every Sunday driving, and we'd see the hot jam donut fans, and then going to the footy, So
I remember the footy with the hot jam donuts from the food truck and everything all the time.
Exactly.
School and the tuck shop.
The Jiffy Donuts.
Yeah.
Even when Rose and I Rose and I have been together over 30 years, but even when we were younger, we would actually do donut runs, because in those days, it was a different brand. A brand called Herbert Adams used to make a magnificent donut, which I've...
Were they the frozen ones, though?
No, you can get frozen ones, but you can get the fresh ones as well. They used to make
in the 7-Eleven. Foodies and 7-Elevens.
Yeah, so,
Friday night, it would be the donut run.
Oh, mate, it was just gorgeous. We would just go look for the donuts, and actually... To my shame, I had never tasted pineapple donuts because they looked too chintzy to me.
No way.
Rose got me onto the pineapple donuts, and we actually sourced and tracked the original flavour to make the original pineapple donuts.
Not easy to find.
We are one of the very few that have that original
still
flavour.
have it.
Is that right?
Plenty of pineapple flavours.
So you still use the same flavour?
Yeah.
Same flavour. So that is the original Melbourne pineapple donut
And
flavour.
one of our most popular donuts.
Yeah.
One of the. If we don't have it, where's pineapple?
We're actually, in the new factory that we're doing, we're actually going to create one of the frying lines that's going to be dedicated to pineapple donuts.
Wow. And you were originally food technology as well, weren't you? So that sort of blends with that history of it, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So
you do your recipes and mixes and everything?
Exactly. Like if you go back to my lecturers, they'll probably say, he was our worst, but but I took in enough. I took in enough to sort of understand it. And the good thing is, it gave me a technical grounding and source material. And thank you RMIT, thank you William Angelis. But it's source material to go back to and be able to look at all the different ways to formulate the donuts properly.
Okay, so and the second key factor or second key thing for Walkers is creating a unique environment. So you talk about, and I see it here every time we've been to one of these stores, it's just this nostalgia sort of feel to it. Tell me about the environment and how important that's been in creating.
Well, this Rose could probably answer this too, where we both grew up in an environment of Australiana in the 60s and 70s was the most beautiful place to live. It was just milk bars. It was
long hot summers, and just a feling of security and happiness and
and you cherish treats. You cherish treats. So when you were given 20 cents, you could go buy that donut, or
you could. I remember Mars bar was like 20 cents or something like that.
Yeah. Big M was 60 cents. No, it was those times. So that is what unconsciously we have tried to create in Walkers, that feeling that we used to feel going into our local shop. I remember Mrs. Leggers, Mrs. Murrell's, they were the two milk bars outside our school. I remember the names. I remember the people. We used to get, I think it was 5 cents for a donut or something ridiculous.
I don't remember. I never had junk food that much. I had to eat it at home. So my donuts were homemade.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, because you
they were.
Yeah.
Well, the oliebollen and all
Family
the Dutch
events and things like
treats for
that.
New Year's and things, all homemade. Apple fritters, we have to do an apple fritter. It's just something that I remember from my childhood. It's just
So how do you maintain that environment, say, and impart that to franchise owners? So I'm interested to say, getting that as far as the training goes, you put them into a store environment and really talk about that and focus on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look, we try to impart to them how important is the uniform is, because the uniform is
it's different. It's a different uniform. Yeah.
It is, and we've maintained it. Look, it would have been so much easier to go to t-shirts, but when we started expanding, we thought, no, we're going to be as authentic as we can. So it's evocative of the old soda jerks from the 40s and the 50s.
I think I'm watching Back to the Future when I.
Well, there you go. There you go.
One of our favourite films.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's that close to perfection.
Yes, it is, isn't it? A lot of people think it's absolutely the perfect film.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, but I think we digress.
Yes. But so it's important. We, obviously we'll build the store to have that authentic look, but we push on them that it's important to stay in the uniform, because that is the first image that people get of the store, and if it's done right, I think we are the most unique offering out there in terms of look. Because the iconography was so important to us.
Yeah, you can tell when you see it.
Yeah.
Every detail in the store that we've seen in the newer store we just saw up in Springfield, every little detail. That's great.
Mate.
So
we've got a beautiful designer as well. Shout out to Wayne at Toothpicks. He understands. Amazing. He gets exactly what we want, and he brings new things into it.
Exactly.
So he's not afraid.
He's into his old cars, and if you look at a Walkers, the way the curves are, that's based on like a 1968 Thunderbird or something like that.
And you need that type of person who just lives and breathes like that, because another person would come and just wouldn't get it, would they?
No,
they wouldn't get it.
That's right. Wayne gets it. It's not derivative. He actually knows exactly understands the Americana and the aesthetic completely.
The importance of it.
Yeah. And the third thing you're talking about, the other key factor in the thing in your growth, making what you are today, is the offsite manufacturing. You told me about that this was such a key thing for you, is moving to offsite and not having production all the time in store. Talk us through that.
Yeah, look, we have a little bit
and why that's important.
Yeah, we have a little bit of critical production in store, which is the hot jam donuts, because it's important to get the smell, the theatre preserved, and that's really important. That's been almost a non-negotiable for us. But the average franchisee doesn't have to turn up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning to start proofing donuts and start frying. So there's no 4 a.m. wake-ups. There's a reasonable wake-up time. We can produce the donuts in-house in the manufacturing facility. We can preserve the quality. We can make sure the delivery is done on time. So we take the guesswork out of it, basically.
Yeah.
So that's been really, really important.
That must have quite a flow-on effect to training as well. You can really focus in on training on customer service as opposed to product. I remember being in a previous donut business, 2/3 of it was all product training.
Exactly. Wow. I will put this out to the listeners. That have you ever met a happy baker? Now, they're always grumpy because they're up all night. So,
they're always exhausted.
Always exhausted, the poor guys. I remember Dad used to work night shifts, and so we completely understand. So, like you said, Glenn, it's all about focusing on the customer. It really is. So
without the customer, we're not here.
Exactly.
We are nothing without them.
Yeah, and another thing we're implementing in moving to the bigger facility is we do some decoration for the stores now, but we're trying to offer a fully hybridized version of our offer where the franchisee can buy fully decorated donuts. Maybe a little cost premium, but what that does is save them on labor, save them on materials, and more importantly, if they get to their store early, their cabinet can be ready at 6:30 to start selling.
Wow.
There's plenty of tradies out there that buy donuts at 6:30 a.m.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Speaking of the road, donuts and coffee.
Exactly.
Great. What better start to the day than donuts and coffee?
Exactly.
Yeah. And the fourth thing you were talking about, and you briefed to me as a key moment in the business or a key thing in the business, was expanding interstate with a master setup. So you've chosen the path for Queensland to have master
Yep.
a master franchisor
Yeah.
or master franchisee, as
An
you
area
said.
developer, we call
Or
them.
area developer, sorry.
Yep.
So tell me about that. Were you thinking about that all along, or was it something that just sort of came up?
Well, it came up. It came up in terms of our expansion because it basically meant that we could find somebody that had committed funds and committed resources to actually growing the brand. So it's not just us hiring people up there; it's people that have actually invested their heart and soul.
But also ex-franchisees from Melbourne that had an innate understanding of Walkers and brand.
Yeah, this has been our probably most heartwarming success story because Pete and Sammy, who actually are the area developers in Queensland, they were franchisees in our Craigieburn store in the north of Melbourne, and they were guns from the start, from day one. But you can see they were hungry for more. So when this opportunity came up, they pounced on it, and they've spent the last 2 years getting the brand established in Queensland, and I think we've put the all beginnings are difficult, as the old saying goes, and they put the 2 hardest years behind them. They had to establish a factory.
Yeah.
We had to establish relationships with shopping centres, and now so we've got.
In 16 months, they've opened 4 stores. They've got 2 pop-ups, and we've got plans for another 4.
Yeah.
there.
Well, we filmed what their store opening last weekend.
That's right.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
no,
really
so
good.
that's
They were
been
they were very happy and very
Yeah,
excited.
that's
So
great.
franchisees.
That's what
And
we want.
I
That's what
suppose-
we want.
Absolutely, and I think you made a point there when one aspect to it was the way that you choose to do the business is not the easiest way to do it. So if they've got to do a manufacturing facility as well as, they're not just opening a store and then training the franchisees to cook donuts and then on their way, they've actually got to keep producing for franchisees throughout. haven't they?
Absolutely. And look, I would never, ever tell somebody how to run their business or knock or knock a competitor. But I know that some models send up frozen donuts and frozen fried donuts, and that's not what we're about. We're about setting up a localized factory to make the donuts fresh because we feel that's key, and I never want to fall into that, simplicity because then you diminish the product, you genericize the product.
You don't want to compromise on the quality of the product.
Yeah.
So we want our guys up there to be able to produce, and the boys 7 days a week, they produce a fresh product every day.
Yeah.
And that rolls us on to the last one, the 5th of the 5 key things we want to talk about. It's product quality and uniqueness. So you've got some pretty special ways you approach the quality of your product and ensuring it. So can you talk through the importance of that, and I suppose the importance of that to the overall business and what you're trying to achieve?
Absolutely. Well, I'll start with the donuts. It took a lot of work to get them to where we want, because like I would say to our head baker, Sandy, I said, Sandy, I want you to bite this donut with your lips, not your teeth. I want it to literally melt in your mouth as you start your eating journey. So that took technicality. It took art and science to get that right. Now, everything else that goes with the donut, the fondants, the fillings, the toppings, we source product from external suppliers, but we also get ours created by external suppliers as well. But
To your specifications.
Our specifications. I'll give you an example.
More and more of it too.
Yeah, I was speaking to Morgan yesterday where we did some work together. Like, to get our apple right took 10 goes, 10 different versions of the apple until we got the right caramelized notes, until we felt the texture was right. With our Ras plum, the people that manufacture it for us were pulling their hair out because we were just never happy. We tried that many versions until we were happy. We tried one trial version, then we started getting feedback back saying not as good, not as good as it used to be. So so we just kept tweaking until we got it right. And it's a never-ending journey too, Glenn. Like we may look at certain aspects of the product of the fillings or whatever and say, no, we want to get better with this.
But you're only talking about donuts, or we're talking about our freshly roasted coffee, which is days old.
Yeah.
You're talking about our
Award-winning.
Yeah. And you're talking about our hot dogs, which are made specifically for us fresh.
Yeah.
Like, we have those relationships with our suppliers that we try to extract. We do extract the best quality
High
for the
meat
best
content
price.
for the hot dogs. Even the US sodas.
Yep.
Like I've said countless times, we've actually gone as far as go to the States to source the best nostalgic products we could.
So do you think this is, so you've got a brand passion and you've got food technology background. Do you think that's the meshing of both these things? Do you think that's why that comes together like that?
It's art and science, really. You know, like,
so it's what's coming across art and science.
Yeah. Well, even in developing new products, like Rose will sit down with Janelle, part of our ops team, and work. We don't just sort of sit there behind a desk. I mean, look, we're not a corporation. We still consider ourselves a family business, and we'll try every 100%. Single donut that comes across the,
We've got to be happy with it. We've got to be proud enough to stand behind it, to say this is what we're offering. I wouldn't want to do it any other way.
The only time we had a hitch was when I developed the sardine and clam donut, and Rose knocked it back. Just that.
It sounds like something out of Cloud with a Chance of Meatballs.
That's right. But So on a serious note, we really, every product we put out there, it's something that we would wish for.
100%.
The whole of Walkers, from the music down to the uniforms, is something that we would wish for. We want to see, and we want to feel.
And we want people to be gladdened by their experience, to be happier when they've left with their purchase and they can't wait to eat it or drink it. That they can't wait. So
and come back for more.
That's the experience that we want.
We want people to walk into a Walkers and walk away a little bit happier.
100%.
It's that much or that much, a little bit happier.
Before we finish, they're great points. Before we finish, in my mind I was thinking I'll get back to that, but I never did. You came up Walkers Doughnuts. What's the significance of it? Sorry, I know I'm sort of digressing a little bit on them, but it was bugging me.
No. Look, this was actually came up a lot in our trademarking. Look, Walkers was a name. I wanted a name that was evocative of sort of Midwest Americana, 30s, 40s. And it's as simple as that.
McDonald's was taken.
I did inquire about that, and I rattled some cages, but they weren't budging. So I offered in the thousands for the name, but they wouldn't give it. So Walkers, I thought, it's a friendly name, and I've also been inspired by McDonald's, whatever anybody thinks, and Ray Kroc's involvement. And one of the things that Ray Kroc loved was the name. It invoked comfort, it invoked nostalgia, and invoked trustworthiness. So I wanted a name that was all those things.
So how many names did you go through?
I went through a lot. But Walkers was the sweetest and the most satisfying for me.
Excellent. Well, that's a perfect way to finish, I reckon. Thanks for telling us about the 5 key things that make Walkers what it is today. Appreciate it. And that's it for another one of the Franchise Everything podcasts. If you like this, please share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, and we'll catch you in the next one soon.